People who patronize businesses that meet ethical standards. People should patronize businesses that meet ethical standards, and the news media should help them to patronize those businesses. Therefore, when a business performs a notably ethical action, the news media should publicize that fact. For hearing of a business's ethical conduct is often enough to motivate people to patronize that business. Okay. So I think the argument here is after therefore.
Okay, so we're saying yes. So when a business performs a notable ethical action, the news media should publicize that fact. Okay. And for introduces a premise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because hearing a business ethical conduct is often enough to motivate people to patronize that business. Okay. So what kind of question is this?
Weekends.
Okay, so what would weaken this idea that when a business performs a notable ethical action, the news media should publicize that fact?
What if their action is something that like everyone else is doing, or it's not that ethical? I don't.
But our premises are true, right? So we have to assume that it is ethical.
Yeah.
Like, should you okay? Think about this in real life. Like, do you think businesses, like the newspaper, every time a company does something ethical, do you think the paper should publish it?
No, that's kind of unnecessary.
Why is it unnecessary, or why don't you like that?
Because what they're doing might like be like the bare minimum. Like they're not everyone else. Like what I just said. Like everyone else is doing it.
Reasoning behind why they're doing that.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
What could be the reasoning behind why they're doing nice things?
Oh, just to get more. They had like the wrong motivations behind it.
Yeah, like, can it just be a big PR? It just becomes like a big PR stunt by everybody, and nobody even starts doing. Yeah, that would be my week. Yeah, and awesome. And also, like, what is ethical too? I'd be like, couldn't that be very controversial?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're looking for something that's going to weaken it so that the news media should not publicize the fact. All right, go ahead and start with A.
Some businesses that have high ethical standards do not actually meet those standards. I don't think that weakens this idea because I think if anything that strengthens it, because when they do meet it, they should be publicized for these high. Oh no. Well, I don't like that one.
Okay, well, I feel like this is a little bit what you predicted, but I don't. It says that I don't like that it's mild. So at least one business that have high ethical standards do not actually meet their standards.
Well, then they wouldn't be publicized. Because
Like, I'm like, what that have high? Okay, yeah, that's like just because they have high ethical standards, does it, and they're not meeting them, then do they actually have high ethical standards? That's
yeah.
okay. What about B?
Meeting high ethical standards is primarily a matter of refraining from unethical behavior. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's kind of what I was saying, that like, what if they're not doing anything that's like that great or like the bare minimum? Why should they be publicized for like the bare minimum?
Yeah, like what if being ethical is just, oh, you're like the teacher that says you shouldn't be rewarded for doing your homework or getting good grades. Like you should just want to do that, right? Like you're like, that should just be expected. Like my parents growing up, like you shouldn't get paid to do your chores because you should just do your chores. Like you're living in our house, right?
Yeah.
And I like how primarily is a really strong word.
Okay. We like
it's essentially, yeah, okay, once more time, like meeting high ethical standards is essentially just not being a crappy person. Like, good for you. Like, right, what about C?
It is relatively easy for a business to meet its ethical standards if it does not set them very high. Okay, so that's like kind of saying what B was saying, but I don't think that weakens it necessarily, because it doesn't talk about why we should not, or why we should publicize them for this.
Well, yeah, and we're saying performs a notably ethical action where it doesn't, I don't know, like, I don't think if it is not something very high, that doesn't mean that it's meeting the media's ethical standards, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, what about D?
The news media is more likely to publicize a business's unethical conduct than it is to publicize a business's ethical conduct. I think that kind of strengthens the idea that then they should publicize when they do something, when they do a notably ethical action.
It's like, we're going to publicize both of them. Well, it doesn't mean that they should not publicize it, at least. Just the fact that they are more likely to publicize unethical conduct,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that in turn they should publicize. Like, I feel like it's just irrelevant. It's like, okay, it definitely doesn't mean that they shouldn't publicize
Mm-hmm.
they do ethical things. Right? And then what about E?
Some businesses that meet ethical standards would not do so if they could remain profitable while meeting those standards. I would cross that out because it's now bringing in this idea of profitable also when
Some businesses that meet high standards would not do so if they could not remain profitable. What does that have to do about remaining profitable?
yeah,
Like
no,
that's yeah. So at least one business that has high standards would not have high standards if they could not remain profitable while having their cool. That doesn't mean that the media should not publicize the fact that they're doing ethical things.
mm-hmm.
Right. So our answer is B.
Okay.